lovers, it is GSwiz here, and I'm just about to do another unhaul. So I actually pre-filmed this a couple months ago, and I was not in the best mental state while filming it. I mean, I initially thought that me being, I don't know, angry and sad might have been like the perfect way to go about filming the unhaul, because it's a negative video anyway, so like all that pent-up energy I could just let out. And I mean, it did work to some degree, but my intro was messy, so I'm refilming this intro and just giving you guys a warning. If I mention that I'm like mad or sad, I need to rewatch the footage. I actually don't remember what I specifically said, but I will understand once I'm in the editing room. If I do mention that a couple of times in the video, I was just not having a good day while filming it. And I also have to give a quick disclaimer here. It has been a while since I have filmed this unhaul, but usually with my unhauls, I donate to the books. And I don't necessarily remember mentioning that in the first time that I tried to film this introduction for this unhaul, so I'll just be mentioning this now. If you see a book that you like in this unhaul, it's been donated, and that is how majority of my unhauls work. And also, I unfortunately do not have the time to go out to the post office all the time and be sending these out, so soz. I just have to give that disclaimer because I do get a lot of comments in my unhauls being like, GSwiz, send me that book, I will pay you money. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't make that happen. So I guess without further ado, let's get straight into this unhaul, and I will take you to past GSwiz. If you see a book that you love, I do apologize. I don't mean to offend anyone. This is just like my personal opinion, and I really just need to get rid of these books because you guys see these bookshelves? Yeah, they're cramped. I need shelf space. So before we get to the books that I physically need to show in this unhaul today, I also have two books that I've previously unhauled, but I did not include in the stack because I gave them to a friend. So pretty much, I really wanted my friend to finish the Wraith King series by Grace Draven. I believe the first ebook, Radiance, was on Scribd, and they read it and they absolutely adored it, but they never got to read Eidolon. And I decided, out of the kindness of my heart, I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna give my friend my original paperbacks of the set because I would just so badly want her to read the series. And I don't care if I'm gonna give away my original paperbacks, I just want her to enjoy the series. So I asked her if she wanted them physically, and so I gave her my original paperbacks. I do have the beautiful Fake Rate exclusive editions, so I'm content there. And yes, as much as I did appreciate having the original paperbacks, and I do love collecting multiple editions of the same book or the same series if I really love it, I think I'm really satisfied with the fact that I gave her the set. So overall, I'm really content with the reason why I unhauled these books, and if anything, I think this is definitely the most wholesome thing to come out of this unhaul, and we're only just getting started. The next thing that I have to mention that I'm unhauling is Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is one of my least favorite Colleen Hoover books, and look, I usually find Colleen Hoover's books to be entertaining. I only read them for entertainment, right? I mean, yes, I do find meaning and purpose in some of them. Like, I really appreciate the It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us duet. That personally meant a lot to me because it very much made me realize a lot about my trauma. And that series personally helped me heal, but there are still some Colleen Hoover books that I just read purely for entertainment, and so I tried Verity out. And when people say that this is an amazing thriller, I really don't agree with them. I predicted what was going to happen in this book. I don't find the characters likable at all. I was actually inspired to unhaul this because Camilo decided to put on a breakdown of what this book was about, like a summary of what this book was about for some reason. We found like this awesome commentary YouTuber, and they decided to do an entire deep dive on this one book, and Camilo decided to watch it with me, and I was really struggling to watch it with him, and he was very curious about the breakdown, but by the time we got to the end of the 1 hour and a half video, he also thought it was not worth it. I hate that I had to sit through that as well because I really just wanted to forget about the story and maybe revisit it one day, but no. I think after going through that breakdown, after reading this book maybe a year and a half ago, I think it's about time I need to unhaul it. I understand if this is some of you guys' favorite Coho book, but this book, in my personal opinion, is definitely one of my least favorite. I was just about to say one of the worst, but I still have not read like half her backlist yet, so I cannot say that, but I just just did not like Verity. And the next book I'm planning to unhaul is Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. I hate the fact that I did not love this book. Like, I was expecting this book to be very nice and, I don't know, kind of creepy. It did have a creepy vibe to start off with, at least it was starting off that way, but as we continued on with the story, it just did not have that vibe anymore. It just became very cutesy and everything, but also I didn't find the characters to be, like, I don't know, easy to follow. Like, I just did not feel attached to them. So I'm just deciding to let this one go. I don't plan on rereading it in the future. I got it for $12, so I mean, it wasn't a bad deal, but yeah, I'm just kind of like disappointed in this one because I had pretty high expectations for this romance novel. And maybe that's because it's got a very beautiful cover and I've heard good things about it. I mean, I've heard better things about the the second book that Alicia Thompson has published with Penguin recently, but yeah, this one was not great. And the next book I'm planning to unhaul is Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. Look, I've not read this. I've been told by a friend that I need to, and so I decided to buy it, but it's been 10 years since I've bought it, and I don't think I'm going to at least pick this edition up. Maybe in 20 or 30 years I will give it a chance, but I'm definitely not at the stage of my life where this is motivating to me. So bye-bye. Built to Last by Arango. This was okay. It wasn't bad. I think out of all the physical books I've mentioned so far, this one was pretty good, but I don't think I'm gonna reread it. And yes, of course, I am planning to unhaul 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. If you don't know about the Tilly Cole controversy, maybe Google it and decide for yourself whether or not you want to support or read anything by Tilly Cole. Thankfully, as I'm filming this video, I've not yet read anything by Tilly Cole, but at this point, I don't plan on reading anything by Tilly Cole. I don't plan on supporting this author in the future. I even pre-ordered, I think, the companion sequel to this book because it was like $12 on Amazon. I canceled the pre-order. I had the new book by them, A Wish for Us, in my Amazon cart. I took it out of my Amazon cart. I was planning to do like a full-on binge read of Tilly Cole's books. I do not plan on doing that anymore. I don't plan on supporting them, and I honestly don't think that the subject matter and the setting, the characters, the gangs that Tilly Cole decided to incorporate in one of her books was at all appropriate. It was definitely not appropriate for a fiction novel, and I know that not every single one of this author's works will deal with the same subject matter, but you know what? I hate to say it, but it ruined me for any desire to read anything by Tilly Cole in the future because they decided to write a book about what they wrote the book about. Not okay at all. So it's bye-bye. And the next book I plan to unhaul is Hex Appeal by Kate Johnson. I'm not getting rid of this book because I don't love it. I actually really love this book. It's just that the publisher decided that they are going to publish the sequel in B format or B plus format paperback. And this right here is a trade paperback. Makes me a little bit sad because I purchased this. I went out of the way to purchase this first book, and now I have to repurchase it in a new format in order for it to match the sequel if I decide to purchase the sequel. I'm like devastated about it, especially because I love this book so much. I would highly recommend this book. It's like the perfect fun witchy read that definitely has a very cute setting, and the banter in here is just absolutely adorable. Recently my work colleague got hooked onto this book and she has just been gushing to me about it. It's just so cute to see her actually really love it, and I just want more people to read it. It's so good, it's so underrated. Everyone needs to read Hex Appeal, but I'm getting rid of this paperback because the sequel is not going to match in this height. And unfortunately, I decided to unhaul The Matchmaker by Saman Chad. I don't think I'm going to reread this book, so I'm just getting rid of it. I mean, I love the setting of this book because this book does take place in Western Sydney at some parts, and there are a few mentions of the suburb that I grew up in, but I don't think I'm going to reread it, unfortunately. Court of Dragons by Frost K, the Bookish Box Special Edition. I don't think they're doing the sequel, so I'm planning to get rid of it. Also, I don't really love this cover that much. I love the original cover better, so even if they were doing a sequel, I don't know if I would be motivated to pick it up in this style, honestly. And the next book I have to mention that I plan to unhaul is a book that I did not intend on purchasing at all. I didn't actually purchase this book, but I got sent this book by Amazon. I got sent the wrong book. So, A Gentleman in Moscow, right? I believe this is a historical fiction novel, a genre that I don't read usually. I mean, every once in a while I'll pick a historical fiction up like The Nightingale, and the reason why I will is if like I do, I don't know, a reading challenge. But right here, this book came into my mail after I ordered a hardback of The Afterlife of Holly Chase, and I was so excited to receive it. And then I opened my package and I found this book instead, and I immediately reported it to Amazon, and Amazon did send me The Afterlife of Holly Chase after I reordered it. But yeah, they didn't ask me to return this. So I had this book, but I'm not going to read it. So I am planning to unhaul it. And speaking of incorrect book orders, I thought I ordered the Waterstones exclusive edition of Happy Place, but turns out I ordered the standard edition, and I got so ticked off because the one and only thing that I wanted the trade hardback or the royal hardback for was the colored pages. I was so devastated when I found out that this right here was just like a standard hardback. And then I decided sometime after I ordered this hardback to get the Illumicrate / Afterlight exclusive edition instead. The reason why I did not order that hardback initially was because I thought I got the Waterstones exclusive edition of this book, and turns out I purchased the standard edition by accident. But I'm really happy that I have the Afterlight hardback because it matches the rest of my contemporary romances. Overall, I'm really happy I have Happy Place. Like, I love this book so much, but I don't need this copy of it. However, a very beautiful romance novel that I have in my collection currently that I just want to get rid of because I just did not love the book is Emma of 83rd Street. This book I thought I was gonna love, and maybe I would have loved it if I loved the story of Emma. I mean, I don't know if I've watched the Emma movie previously or if I've read the original Jane Austen novel, but I read this and I was very underwhelmed and kind of saddened by it. I know that a lot of people stand with the male love interest, and I get why. Like, the male love interest is constantly telling Emma that she needs to mature, and yes, I do think that Emma needs to mature, but I don't buy their romance because he's constantly trying to hammer that into her head, and I feel as if that is kind of counterproductive. Like, I feel as if she needs to make her own decisions for herself, and she needs to realize for herself that she needs to mature, and not necessarily because a guy said so. I don't know, this one just rubbed me the wrong way. I wanted to love it, and I didn't, and I don't plan on rereading it, so it's going out. And then right here I have a stack of books that I got from my workplace for free. We have a free bookshelf at the front of my office, and a bunch of these were on there, and I just loved the covers. Like the winter dress, I really loved this cover, but I believe it's a historical fiction, and as I mentioned, I don't read historical fiction. I've got the Improbable Life of Ricky Bird. I really liked this cover, but it doesn't necessarily look like the thing that I would read. And then yes, once again, historical fiction, The Gilded Years and A Woman of Intelligence by Karen Tanapi. And then finally, I have Catch Us the Foxes. I did want to read this one like a while back because I've heard great things about it, but it's a thriller and I don't necessarily read those. So I've just decided, you know what? These books, as much as they are beautiful, as much as I'm happy that I received them for free, I feel as if they will be much more valued somewhere else by those who actually read these genres. So I'm gonna give these away. And we're finally getting to the part of this unhaul where I have some self-destructing books that I've put on my self-destructing TBR that I've given up on. And this right here is the Flirting with Monsters series by Eva Chase. I read the first 2 books and I cannot tell you a single thing about the guys that we followed. This is a Why Choose Monster-esque series. I cannot tell you anything about the guys or the female protagonist, honestly. This book series just felt like pure fluff. I felt as if the plot did not really have much substance, and this honestly saddens me because I think this book series was written sometime after the Their Dark Valkyrie series by Eva Chase, and I actually really loved that series. Like, I really enjoyed it. I think it's because I knew more about Norse mythology, so that's kind of why I decided to read the series first, and oh my goodness did I get attached to that series. It didn't end off like on the best note, but I still enjoyed it. I was still attached to that series, whereas this series, I can't tell you anything about it. I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to continue on with the series. I could have completed this series. I could have read the next 2 books. I could have read this entire series and still like be an airhead about it. I don't know, but I decided to not put myself through that because I just felt as if this story was just not grabbing me and these characters were just not distinguishable to me. That's very important in a Why Choose romance. I need the characters to be distinguishable. And guys, in a way, this is kind of unfortunate because I've come to the realization that I have I've like outgrown young adult books. However, I've personally decided that these books need a new loving home. I am getting rid of All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. This one kind of saddens me. I am keeping the other book by Jennifer Niven, the one that was written after this. I did get this book signed and personalized by Jennifer, but this book did not impact me the way that her other book did. I have this signature and this personalization here that says, "You make me lovely," but this book for me would be a really hard book to reread, especially because of its subject matter. But I did like the other book by Jennifer Niven. I feel as if the other book meant so much more to me at the time that I read it. So I have personally decided that I'm going to keep the other book by Jennifer Niven and unhaul this one because I don't think I'm going to reread it. It is a very beautiful blue cover though. I am a little bit conflicted about getting rid of this one, but I feel as if it's about time I do. And then I've got two books by Siobhan Plaza, Tin Heart and Frankie. I have not yet read Tin Heart, but I have read Frankie and I really like this book. Essentially, I want to give these books to a teenager. So I've decided that these are just going out of my collection because I feel as if they're much more appropriate for teenagers now. And Frankie was a very good book. Like, I think that a lot of Australian teens need to read this book. It was great. I feel as if it definitely handled anger issues very well. And speaking of books I would recommend to teenage readers, I've got the Wings of Ebony series here. I did read this series earlier this year, and as much as I appreciated it, as much as I enjoyed this first book, I did not love the second book that much. And yes, once again, I do think that I could donate these books so at least a teenage reader could have access to them, or a young adult reader, anyone who loves reading YA. I have outgrown YA. As much as I do appreciate some YA series out there, I don't tend to reach for it these days, and I don't think I'm going to reread this series, so I'm going to donate this book series as well. And this next book series, I am in the mood to talk about. Yes, that's right, I'm getting rid of these, right? I'm getting rid of these pretty soon after I hold them. Like, as soon as I finished reading Breath of Fire, it went straight into the unhaul pile. Oh my goodness, the tantrum that the main love interest threw in the series completely turned me off from it. And I honestly cannot believe that I continued reading this book series for the length that I did. This book series, I hate to say it, but it was a waste of time. Like, I love the novella, the Christmas novella that Amanda Boucher wrote in the series, but that was the best thing that Amanda Boucher wrote in this world. And I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry, actually. This romance is toxic. Why are we glorifying Griffin and Kat? I don't understand why everyone is saying that Griffin is a dream man. He's literally screaming at his girl all the time. He makes me mad. He makes my blood boil. I've talked about Prince Rafferty for years, but you know what? Griffin just showed up. He was like, "Prince Rafferty, hold my beer. I gotta show G-Swizz that there are more toxic men in romantasy." And you know what? Griffin succeeded. He's one of the most toxic men I've ever read about. Prince Rafferty came out of nowhere for me. Like, for me to have read the series and then only realize that Prince Rafferty was toxic from the last book, like, that was a shock to me because I loved him so much. With Griffin, it took me a while to warm up to him in the first book. I was like, oh, okay, you know, I'm getting to know you. I'm getting to see how you're going, right? So, you know, I was kind of like cautiously optimistic. I'm like, yeah, you know, eventually he's gonna show that he's an amazing husband and stuff like that, like he's husband material. But then we start Breath of Fire and he showed his red flags instantly. Unlike the heartbreak that I experienced from Prince Rafferty, this was a different situation. Like, the Remnant Chronicles made me sad, right? This series here just made me mad. And I think I'm angry at the series because I know so many romantasy readers love it and they are glorifying this relationship. This is a relationship that should not be glorified. This relationship is a pure example of toxicity. We should not be glorifying this romance. I mean, I could say the same thing about the Remnant Chronicles romance in book 3 as well. Like, 100%. I have talked about that for the last 3.5 years here on my channel. But a new challenger came to town and I'm still bitter about it. I think I'm just more angry at the fact that a lot of people are saying this book series is just as good or maybe even better than ACOTAR. And as much as I respect that, because yeah, you know, I don't think that ACOTAR should be like the end all and be all of fantasy romance. Like, there are problems with ACOTAR as well, but I definitely don't agree there. I think that even though ACOTAR has its problems, it was not as problematic as this book series right here. The fact that Griffin got the girl in the end makes me so mad because, in my opinion, Griffin is an abuser. He might be the love interest of the series, but he's an abuser. Also, A Curse of Queens, this is like a spin-off to like this original trilogy. It's meant to be like the Court of Silver Flames to what ACOTAR was, right? This book did not need to happen. It was just so pointless. Like, I appreciate that Flynn and Jocasta had their own side adventure, but the side adventure itself took a lot of the page count, and it was just not worth it. In the end, this book series was not worth it. It makes me so angry to say that because I've been recommended the series many times. I've been told that it's amazing. This book series is not good. I'm sorry. And you know what? Yes, I do love Kat in this series. I did appreciate following her journey. And that is honestly why I continued on with the series. I appreciated Kat as a protagonist. But everything else about the story just did not work for me. Like, I appreciated the Greek mythology aspects of it all, but the romance was terrible, the plot was messy, it was just not that entertaining at times, and it was definitely not worth it. So I'm unhauling these. And usually I'm one to give authors a second chance, but I don't think I could give Amanda Boucher a second chance. I don't know, we will see. I have more books by her on my TBR. So we'll find out together eventually. And the next stack of books that I'm planning to unhaul, unfortunately, is the Broken Earth trilogy. I just don't plan on rereading the series. Like, I could keep this series on my shelves, but I don't plan on rereading it. I honestly do reckon that this book series should go to someone who is planning to read the series and hasn't actually read it yet and is wanting to fall in love with it, or to someone who loves the series but does not have physical copies. And the next book that I'm planning to unhaul is Talk Santa to Me by Linda Urban. I wanted to love this book so badly, but yeah, it kind of disappointed me. I really love the cover though. Like, I love the cover illustrator. I believe it's from the same illustrator as the Maple Hill series. I do love this illustration, but I felt like I was catfished while reading this book because I thought it was going to be a romance. Turns out it just felt like a middle grade adventure. I am just underwhelmed by it. So it's goodbye from me. The next book I'm planning to unhaul is a book that I've wanted to read for a while, but I literally purchased it because of its cover. It's very beautiful. It's Vanilla by Billy Merle. It doesn't have the best ratings on Goodreads, and I have been lying to myself all these years, and I keep on telling myself I'm gonna read it. I think I've had it on my shelf for around 6 or 7 years, but I have not done it yet. I have not read this book yet, so I think it's about time I say goodbye, especially because it is a young adult book as well, and I'm not reading young adult often, so I've decided that I'm gonna donate it, and hopefully it lands in the hands of a teenager or someone who reads young adult. And I'm also planning to get rid of some fabled monthly book picks. 2 of them are designs I'm just not keen on, and I just prefer the original design, and one of them is one of my most disappointing reads of 2023, and that is The Siren's Mutiny. Unfortunately, I just did not love this book. I'm devastated because I actually do like this design, or I like the under the cover design better. I love this design, right? And I really wanted to get the sequel, but then I read the book and I really did not enjoy it. I found it to be very predictable, and that's sad because I believe it is a debut novel and I did not want to judge it too harshly, but I just found it to be very predictable. So I am planning to not continue with the series, and I'm planning to donate this book in the hopes that someone else will pick it up and enjoy it. But then I have these 2 books right here, Crown of Blood and Glass and then A Cursed Kiss. Firstly, font right here, don't like it, and secondly right here, I don't like the fact that there's no title on the cover but there's the author on the cover. Like, honestly, if it's a design choice to not include the title on the cover, why include the author's name? I don't get it. I do love this beautiful sword. Like, this foiled sword is very pretty. I just need to make sure that it's focused on. It's very pretty, and this right here is pretty saucy. I really like that. And this font right here is a lot, in my personal opinion. I'm not too sure if you guys can see that, and I also don't really like the pattern in the background. I do like the foiling. Like, the foiling is so pretty on this edition, but I'm really struggling to love the font and some of the design choices for A Cursed Kiss, especially because I love the original cover so much better. Like, yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed in the customization of this edition, especially because they actually did use a guest artist for this box, but I just really don't like this design choice personally, so I'm planning to get rid of this, and I'm planning to actually purchase the original edition. And I'm going to do the same with this book right here. Even though I do love the foiling on the back, like, I think that the foiling on the back is pretty, I just cannot get past the fact that these pages exist with this blood dripping, and then these end pages exist as well. I am tired of the blood drips, especially when you've got some beautiful art like in the background. Like, blood drips are okay, but just make sure that the background is plain. Like, this right here just ruins it. It just reminds me of when I hate to use the analogy, but when someone puts too much ketchup on something that I feel feel as if you need to use ketchup sparingly on. Yeah, I'm not a big ketchup fan either. And this blood right here, it reminds me of ketchup for some reason. As an analogy, but also like literally, because it just looks more like ketchup than it does blood. Anyway, yeah, I'm not a big fan of this cover. I love the original cover so much, and I love the original cover for A Cursed Kiss. And bear in mind that I did get these books before I knew you could actually swap your membership type for the months. Like, I thought that I had to stay on the combo plan in order to keep it, but no, like I can actually choose each month what plan I can go on for Fabled. So that is kind of why I have a few of these books. But after I discovered that I can switch plans monthly as long as I change at a certain point of the month, that's when I found that I was not getting books that I was not interested in, or the designs as well. Overall, I'm just really happy that that's an option now, but I just don't like these designs. I find that these designs are very subjective anyway, and yeah, I think that someone out there might appreciate them more. And I honestly cannot believe that I am planning to unhaul the series, but I don't plan on rereading it anytime soon. And if I am tempted to get a special edition set of it, if a special edition set ever goes on sale, then I'll probably look into it. But I am gonna say goodbye to the Shadow of the Fox trilogy by Julie Kagawa. As much as I appreciated the series, it's not my favorite series by Julie Kagawa, but I really enjoyed it. It actually made me cry a lot. I feel as if the romance was way too slow burn. Like, I feel as if the two main characters were friends for the first two books, and then all of a sudden they fell in love with each other, like in the final book, or they realized their feelings in the final book. And that's not a bad thing, but that is definitely something that I remember the series by, and I don't necessarily want to like go back and reread this book series for the compelling romance, because as much as the romance was compelling in the final book, I feel as if it wasn't as compelling in the first two. And I did enjoy the concept and the story, but when I think about Julie Kagawa's book series, I actually don't think about this one as much. I do think more about the Iron Fae series and the Talon Saga. I also do want to read her Vampiric series as well. But yeah, overall, I'm just not planning on rereading the Shadow of the Fox series anytime soon, and I don't plan on rereading them in these paperbacks either. Maybe if I plan on rereading these books in the future, I will listen to the audiobooks. But for now, I will say goodbye to these paperbacks, and I will be donating them. And another two books that I plan to unhaul are the independently published editions of A Fate of Wrath and Flame and A Curse of Blood and Stone by K.A. Tucker. There's no way here, at least in Australia, that I can get the third paperback in a matching edition, unfortunately. I do have the Bookish Box special editions for the series anyway, so I'm planning to complete that set, and who knows, maybe I might just pick up like more special editions in the future if I really love the series. I did want to get the final paperback to match the series, but unfortunately there's just no possibility of doing that unless I wait until the final book in the series, the Australian edition, goes down into B format. But then again, these books are B+, unfortunately. Like, I've measured these. So even if and when the final book goes down in format, it will definitely not match the height of these two. So I unfortunately have to say goodbye to these paperbacks if I do want a matching set. The final hardback that I have to mention in this unhaul today is my original hardback of Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Okay, I've told the story a few times, but I will tell it again. Right here, I have a hardback that I actually pre-ordered a few months before release date. I did that through the Book Depository. As soon as the release date came, the Book Depository marked this book as out of print, or out of stock, actually. No, it wasn't out of print, it was out of stock, like completely. It was unavailable, and I was waiting for months for my pre-order to be fulfilled. And I pre-ordered months in advance, right? And then a few months later, I got the dispatch notification. I was like, yes, I'm so excited for it. I get it. And there's no foiling. And the first edition is meant to have foiling. I got a plain hardback. And I was so devastated about it. For years, I was devastated about the fact that I got a plain hardback, especially because I prepared myself for the foiled edition. Like, I really wanted a hardback with foiling. I put the effort in to pre-order this hardback. And you know what? I wasn't even interested in this book. I mean, I was interested in like the concept of it, and I loved the cover. However, I was not interested in the fact that it was a Caraval spinoff. I'm really happy I've read the series now, and I actually really like it, and I don't really see it as a Caraval spinoff. Like, it has aspects of Caraval sprinkled in there, but I'm so happy that it just stands on its own, honestly, because I really do not like Caraval. And I am not going to give that series a second chance for the novella that is coming out, honestly. But I really love this series so much. But I put the effort in, right? I put the effort into this pre-order and I was devastated. But thankfully, Potterscape decided to come out with a beautiful special edition hardback with some beautiful foiling underneath. So now I have a full foiled set. I'm really happy, and overall the outcome is more than I could have asked for. The second last book series that I have to unhaul today is the Dark Elements series. And yes, right here I have the US paperbacks because before Australia decided to do these covers, the Australian publisher was still printing them, I believe, in like the ugly white covers with people on them. So I decided to go out of the way and purchase the beautiful US editions that kind of go hand in hand with the Harbinger series. But these days, the Australian publisher is putting out these covers, so I'm content with that. But I also have the beautiful Fairy Loot special editions on the way to me, so I just decided, you know what, I don't need these paperbacks, especially because these paperbacks right here, these US paperbacks, don't match anything else that's on my shelves. So I'm planning to give this to a loving home and spread the gospel of Jennifer L. Armentrout's books, especially this world. Oh my goodness, as much as I did not love the Dark Elements series as much as the Harbinger series, this is a great place to start for those who are wanting to get into the Harbinger. And last but certainly not least, the final book series that I plan to unhaul is the Dreamland Billionaires series by Lauren Asher. And this right here is infuriating. But not only that, the new printing of the series here in Australia does not include these numbers anymore. So if you were to get final offer, the number on top of the spine, I believe, is either in the middle or there's no number at all. And the new printing of these two books is the same as this one, just without that number placement. These paperbacks right here are a failed experiment from whoever was the production controller or whoever was in control of the prints and the spreads. This is just devastating to look at, honestly. And look, I could say that that is the only reason why I'm unhauling these books, but maybe I just need to take a break from the series in general. I have actually completed the series and I do have some positive feelings about it, but I also have some very strong negative feelings about it. So I actually really love the fine print. I think that the fine print is the best book in the series, and it's the first book in the series, and I did like Final Offer, but at times it frustrated me. At times it did infuriate me, and at times I honestly just felt as if the two characters could have just communicated better. But Terms and Conditions is one of the most painful romance novels I've ever had to read, especially because I've gone through corporate trauma. So thinking about this book just makes me so angry, because in Terms and Conditions we are following a future CEO, or the CEO, and his executive assistant. They have to get married in order for him to gain his inheritance and stuff and to continue with the path that he wants to continue on, right? Iris, who is his executive assistant, even after getting married to him, continues working for him. They don't have a proper honeymoon. They don't have proper time with each other. She is working so hard for him. She's just doing all these things for him and he's doing barely anything and he's just being toxic. And I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, this would be my nightmare. Like the fact that they got married and we're spending almost all the novel of them being stuck in work, them trying to run this business. Like, I appreciate a good corporate romance, but this right here did not feel like a romance novel. This right here just felt like corporate trauma. And I think the reason why this book triggered me so much is because one of my previous jobs was a very work hard, play hard culture. I was working in administration and I felt like I was being overworked and micromanaged, and I read books to escape. I read romance novels specifically to escape. I love getting to read a good wholesome romance. This right here was not a wholesome romance, and it's not easy for those who do struggle with their 9-to-5 or have struggled with their 9-to-5 in the past. And I just can't love Declan, honestly. Like, I want to root for him, but I can't love him. And I feel so sorry for Iris. Iris deserved so much better. And I was just thinking during my reading experience of this book that Iris was with the wrong brother. Even though Callahan is Iris's bestie, I still thought that she was more compatible with Callahan. I'm happy that we got Callahan's story in the final book. It wasn't perfect, but I'm still happy that we got to see him happy. I think that he deserved it, even though he is very flawed. But yeah, Declan did not deserve Iris. I'm devastated for her. I feel very bitter about the series. Like, I love the first book a lot. I still think about the first book and I'm like, you know what? This book was good. But at the very same time, it's really difficult for me to actually think about the series and think about the first book when these two books have overshadowed my thoughts and feelings for this first book. So who knows, maybe eventually I might collect special editions or I might collect a matching set. I did enjoy the series, but I also think having these editions off my shelf for some time will give me some time to kind of like regroup. And yes, I'm still planning to read more by Lauren Asher in the future. I'm planning to read the spin-offs of the series as well, but I'm really hoping that no book by her is like Terms and Conditions. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. In case you haven't gathered, it is Australian summer here as I'm filming this. It's just so hot. And if you happen to stay till the end of this video, leave me the book stack emoji because that was a lot of books I unhauled. And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also I have social medias. I'm at gswizzelbooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at gswizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
And I flipped it in a double. Started out with half and I flipped it in a double.